That's chilling. The voicemail from your mother's number 10 years after her death, suggesting the fire wasn't an accident, raises serious questions. Here's how you might approach this. Verify the voicemail. Check the number's origin. Could it be spoofed? People can fake caller IDs, save the voicemail, and have it analyzed by a professional for authenticity, like a digital forensics expert. If it's really her voice, it could be manipulated audio, possibly AI-generated. Revisit the fire. If you suspect foul play, pull the original fire investigation report. Look for signs of arson, like accelerants or tampered evidence, that might have been overlooked. Contact the fire department or a private investigator to review the case with fresh eyes. Don't trust them. Your mother's message implies someone was involved. Think about who them could be. Any family enemies, business rivals, or suspicious figures from that time. Make a list of people connected to your family back then and dig into their backgrounds discreetly. Your safety. If the fire was intentional and someone's reaching out now, you could be a target. Secure your home, change your number, and avoid sharing this with anyone you don't fully trust until you know more. The phone number. Check if your mother's number is still active or reassigned. Contact the phone company to trace its current owner. If it's inactive, that's even stranger. Someone might be using it to mess with you. The voicemail played on loop in my head, my mother's voice. Soft, urgent, alive, cutting through a decade of grief like a blade. I sat in my dimly lit apartment, the phone trembling in my hand, its screen glowing with her number. 555-827 to 3941. It was 2:13 a.m., and the world outside was silent except for the faint hum of city traffic. I hadn't slept since the call came in at 11:47 p.m. last night. Each replay of the message tightened the knot in my chest. Don't trust them. The fire was never meant for us. I forced myself to set the phone down on the chipped wooden coffee table. My apartment was a mess. Takeout boxes, unopened mail, a half-empty bottle of bourbon I hadn't touched in months. The walls felt too close, like they were listening. I stood, pacing my bare feet cold against the hardwood. The fire was 10 years ago. I was 16, sleeping over at a friend's house when the blaze swallowed our home, my parents, my little sister Ellie, gone in hours. The official report said faulty wiring, tragic accident, case closed. I'd spent years burying the pain, convincing myself it was just bad luck. But now this. I grabbed my laptop and started digging. First, the number. I logged into my carrier's website, heart pounding as I checked the call log. There it was. Incoming call, 11:47 p.m., from Mom's old number. I called the carrier's support line, navigating their infuriating automated menu until a tired-sounding rep picked up. I explained, leaving out the ghostly details, just saying I got a strange call from a number tied to a deceased relative. That number's been inactive since 2015, the rep said after a pause, her keyboard clacking. No current owner, it's not even reassigned. Weird, though our system shows it pinged a tower in your city last night. My city? I gripped the phone tighter. Where exactly? She hesitated. I can't give precise locations without a subpoena, but it's local to you, that's all I can say. I hung up, my pulse racing. Local. Someone nearby was using Mom's number. I opened my laptop again, searching for digital forensic services in the area. A few popped up, small firms offering voice analysis, data recovery, the works. I bookmarked one with decent reviews and sent an email with the voicemail file attached, asking for a rush job. If this was AI or a prank, I needed to know. Next, the fire. I hadn't looked at the case file in years. It hurt too much. But now I needed answers. The county's public records site was a clunky mess, but after an hour of clicking through dead links, I found the 2015 fire report. The PDF loaded slowly, each page a punch to the gut. Single-family home, 1427 Willow Lane. Fire originated in the garage. Cause, electrical fault in outdated wiring. No evidence of foul play. The investigator's name was at the bottom. Carl Hensley, fire marshal. I Googled Hensley. Retired now, living an hour away in a small town called Redding. His LinkedIn was bare, but an old news article mentioned him working a string of arson cases in the early 2000s. If anyone could spot missed clues, it was him. I jotted down his last known address from a public records search. Then came the hard part. Them. Mom's warning echoed. Who couldn't I trust? My family wasn't rich or powerful, no enemies I knew of. Dad was a high school math teacher, Mom a librarian. Ellie was just Ellie, 8 years old, obsessed with her sticker collection. But Dad had been acting strange that last month. Distracted, taking late calls, brushing off my questions. I'd chalked it up to stress, but now I wondered. Did he owe someone money? Cross someone? I made a list of names from memory. Dad's colleague, Mr. Grayson, who always lingered too long at our house. Mom's cousin Lena, who'd fought with her over some family trust. Our neighbor, Mr. Tate, who'd complained about Dad's shady visitors. Thin leads, but it was a start. By 5 a.m., I was wired on coffee and paranoia. I double-checked my locks, closed the blinds. The voicemail felt like a warning and a lure. Whoever sent it wanted my attention. But why now? What had changed after 10 years? A notification pinged my phone. An email from the forensics guy, faster than I'd expected. Preliminary analysis shows no obvious signs of AI synthesis in the voice sample. It matches the cadence and pitch of a human speaker. Can't confirm identity without a reference sample. Need more time for deeper analysis. $500 deposit to proceed. I stared at the screen. Not AI. A human voice. Hers. Impossible. I transferred the deposit, my savings taking a hit. Then I grabbed my keys. Hensley was my next stop. If the fire wasn't an accident, I needed to know what he'd missed. And who they were before they found me. First, the drive to Reading was a blur of empty highways and pre-dawn fog, the kind that clings to the windshield like a bad memory. My old Civic rattled along, the voicemail still looping in my mind. Don't trust them. The fire was never meant for us. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, trying to shake the image of Mom's face, her soft smile, now tied to that ghostly whisper. By the time I pulled into Reading, a sleepy town with one diner and a scattering of ranch-style houses, the sun was barely up, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. Carl Hensley's address led me to a modest bungalow on the edge of town, its lawn overgrown with weeds, a rusted mailbox tilting by the curb. I parked a block away, paranoia prickling my skin. If someone was watching me, I didn't want to advertise my arrival. I tucked my phone into my jacket, the voicemail backed up to a cloud drive and walked to the house. The air smelled of damp grass and chimney smoke. I knocked, half expecting no answer. A minute passed before the door creaked open, revealing a man in his late 60s, gray stubble, flannel shirt, eyes sharp but tired. You lost? He asked, voice gravelly. Carl Hensley, I'm Alex Reed. My family died in a fire in 2015. You investigated it. 1427 Willow Lane. I kept my tone steady, but my heart was hammering. His eyes narrowed, scanning me like he was reading a case file. That was a bad one. Electrical, right? What's this about? Can we talk inside? It's complicated. He hesitated, then stepped aside, gesturing to a cluttered living room. A coffee table was buried under old newspapers and a half-empty mug of black coffee. I sat on a sagging couch, and he took the armchair across from me, arms crossed. I got a voicemail last night, I said, choosing my words carefully. From my mom's old number, her voice. She said the fire wasn't an accident. Hensley's face didn't change, but his fingers twitched like he was itching for a cigarette. Voicemail from a dead woman. You sure it's not a prank? I sent it to a forensics guy. Early results say it's not AI. I need to know if you missed something back then, anything that didn't add up. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. That fire, it was clean. Too clean, maybe. Wiring in the garage was old, frayed, textbook cause. But I remember thinking the burn pattern was odd. Too even, like someone wanted it to look accidental. I pushed for an arson investigation, but the higher-ups shut it down. Budget cuts, they said. Case closed. My stomach twisted. You're saying it could have been arson? Could have been, no proof. Accelerant tests came back negative, but that don't mean much if someone knew what they were doing. Pros can make fires look like anything. He rubbed his jaw. Your dad, he ever mentioned trouble, debts, threats? I shook my head. He was stressed before it happened. Took weird calls at night, got cagey when I asked. I was a kid, didn't push it. Hensley grunted. There was a guy, showed up at the scene while we were sifting ashes. Suit, mid-40s, said he was a family friend. Kept asking about papers your dad had. I told him to get lost, but he didn't give a name and I didn't have authority to detain him. Papers? I leaned forward. What kind? No clue. Cops didn't care. Grief tourists show up sometimes, but he was too polished. Didn't feel right. Hensley stood, limping to a filing cabinet in the corner. He pulled out a faded notebook, flipping pages. Here. I jotted down his plates. Black sedan, out-of-state tag, never traced it. He tore out the page and handed it to me. Ohio plates, a string of numbers and letters. I pocketed it, my mind racing. You ever hear from him again? Nope, but a week after the fire my office got a call, anonymous. Told me to stop digging or I'd regret it. I was close to retirement, had a grandkid to think about. I let it go. His eyes met mine, heavy with something like guilt. If you're poking at this, kid, be careful. Fires don't start themselves, and people don't leave voicemails from the grave. I left Hensley's with more questions than answers. The Ohio plate was a lead, but I needed help tracking it. Back in my car, I called a private investigator I'd found online, a woman named Tara Klein with a rep for digging up dirt on cold cases. She agreed to meet me that afternoon at a diner in the city. I sent her the plate number and what little I had on the family friend. As I drove back, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. The front of my apartment building taken from across the street. My blood went cold. Someone was watching me and they wanted me to know it. I pulled over, hands shaking, and played the voicemail again, hoping for some clue I'd missed. Mom's voice filled the car, and this time I caught it, a faint background noise almost drowned out by her whisper. A low hum rhythmic like machinery or a train. I closed my eyes, trying to place it. Then it hit me. The old freight yard near our house, where trains rumbled through every night. Was the call made there? Or was it just a coincidence? I had two choices, go home and risk whoever was stalking me or head to the freight yard and chase a ghost. The pie wouldn't meet me for hours, and sitting still wasn't an option. I turned the car toward the yard, the Ohio plate burning a hole in my pocket. The freight yard was a graveyard of rusted metal and weeds, sprawled out on the edge of town like a forgotten wound. By the time I pulled up, the sun was climbing, casting harsh light over the abandoned railcars and crumbling warehouses. The air smelled of oil and decay, and the faint hum of a distant train vibrated through the ground. I parked behind a sagging chain-link fence, my Civic half hidden by overgrown brush. My hands were still shaky from the text, the photo of my apartment building snapped from across the street. Someone was closing in, and I was chasing a ghost into a place that felt like a trap. I stepped out, scanning the yard. The voicemail's background noise, that rhythmic hum, had brought me here, but now that I was standing in the dirt, doubt crept in. 10 years ago, this place was active, trains hauling freight day and night. Mom used to complain about the noise keeping Ellie awake. Could she have recorded something here? Or was the call made recently, someone using her voice to lure me? I pulled out my phone, replaying the message on low volume, ear close to the speaker. Don't trust them. The fire was never meant for us. There it was again, that faint mechanical drone. It matched the yard's pulse, but it wasn't enough to pinpoint anything. The yard was eerily quiet, save for the occasional clank of metal in the wind. I moved deeper, past a row of rusted boxcars, their faded graffiti barely legible. My sneakers crunched on gravel, and I kept checking over my shoulder, the photo from the unknown number burning in my mind. Whoever sent it knew where I lived. They could know I was here. Near the center of the yard, I found a derelict warehouse, its windows boarded up, one door hanging off its hinges. Something about it felt off, like it was waiting. I hesitated, then slipped inside, the air thick with dust and the sour tang of mildew. Sunlight leaked through cracks in the walls, illuminating piles of rotting crates and a concrete floor stained with oil. In the corner, a metal staircase led to a second level. I froze when I saw it, a cigarette butt, fresh, still faintly smoldering on the ground. Someone had been here, recently. My heart thudded as I backed toward the door, but a low creak from above stopped me cold. Footsteps, slow, deliberate on the upper level. I ducked behind a crate, my breath shallow, and pulled out my phone to silence it. The steps paused, then started again, closer to the staircase. I cursed myself for coming alone, no weapon, no plan. The Ohio plate in my pocket felt useless now. A shadow moved at the top of the stairs, a figure too dark to make out. Then a voice, low and rough male. "You shouldn't be here, kid." I bolted. Out the door, through the yard, weaving between rail cars until I reached my car. My hands fumbled with the keys and I peeled out, tires spitting gravel. In the rear view, I saw no one following, but that didn't calm the panic clawing at my chest. The voice wasn't familiar, but it carried weight, like someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Back in the city, I headed straight for the diner to meet Tara Klein, the pie. It was a greasy spoon called Marty's, all chrome and flickering neon, the kind of place nobody looks twice at you. I slid into a booth, still jittery, and ordered a coffee I didn't plan to drink. Tara arrived 10 minutes later, a woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense ponytail and a leather jacket. She carried a manila folder and a laptop, sliding both onto the table as she sat. "You look like hell," she said, eyeing me. "What's got you spooked?" I told her everything, minus the voice in the warehouse. The voicemail, Hensley's suspicions, the Ohio plate, the photo of my apartment. Her expression stayed neutral, but her pen moved fast, scribbling notes. "The plate's a start," she said, opening her laptop. "I ran it through a database I've got access to. Belongs to a rental car leased in 2015 to a guy named Vincent Marrow. No record of him since then, ghosted. No address, no socials, nothing. Either a fake ID or someone with serious connections to stay off the grid. Vincent Marrow, I repeated, the name foreign but heavy. What about the fire? You think it's worth reopening? She leaned back, sipping her coffee. Hensley's right, clean fires raise flags. I've got a contact in the fire marshal's office who owes me a favor. I'll get the original evidence logs, see if anything was buried. But this voicemail, that's weird. If it's not AI, someone's got a recording of your mom or a damn good mimic. You got enemies. Not that I know of, I said. I was 16 when it happened. I've kept my head down a system. The user has not provided any additional instructions or preferences for continuing the story beyond the previous segment. I will assume they want the narrative to progress naturally, maintaining the established tone, pacing, and level of detail, focusing on Alex's investigation into the mysterious voicemail and the fire's true cause. The story should continue to balance suspense, character development, and realistic decision-making, while introducing new plot points to deepen the mystery. Since no specific direction was given, I will advance the plot by exploring the freight yard incident's aftermath and the pie meeting's outcomes, while introducing a new clue to keep the stakes high. I apologize, but it seems your message was cut off. Since you asked to continue this story and no specific new directions were provided, I'll proceed with advancing the narrative naturally, picking up from the last segment. The story will maintain its suspenseful tone, realistic character decisions, and introduce a new plot development to deepen the mystery, focusing on Alex's investigation into the voicemail and the fire's true cause. Tara Klein's words hung in the air like smoke I couldn't shake. Vincent Marrow. A ghost. The name meant nothing to me, but the fact that he'd rented a car with Ohio plates in 2015, sniffing Sheffield, and asked about papers at the scene of my family's fire felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I sipped my untouched coffee, the diner's hum of clinking dishes and low chatter fading into the background as I tried to process it all. The smoldering cigarette butt, the voice in the warehouse, asterisk, you shouldn't be here, kid, asterisk, still echoed in my head. Someone was watching me, A.N.D. Singhala. See Saenus, system. Apologies, it seems your message was cut off again. I'll assume you want to continue the story, maintaining its suspenseful tone, realistic character decisions, and introducing a new clue to deepen the mystery. Here's the continuation, picking up from Alex's meeting with Tara Klein, the pie, and the unsettling encounter at the freight yard. Tara Klein's words hung in the air like smoke I couldn't shake. Vincent Marrow. A ghost? The name meant nothing to me, but the fact that he'd rented a car with Ohio plates in 2015, asking about papers at the scene of my family's fire, felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I sipped my untouched coffee, the diner's hum of clinking dishes and low chatter fading as my mind raced. The smoldering cigarette butt, the voice in the warehouse, asterisk, you shouldn't be here, kid, asterisk, still echoed in my head. Someone assent, and now this mystery man, Vincent Marrow. Who was he? And why was someone using my mother's voice to drag me back into this 10 years later? Tara leaned forward, her voice low but sharp, snapping me back to the present. The voicemail's your biggest lead. If it's not AI, it's either a real recording of your mom or someone who's mastered her voice. Both are bad news. A real recording means someone close to her kept it for a decade. A mimic means they're targeting you now, playing head games. Either way, you're not safe. That photo of your apartment, that's a threat. And the freight yard, she paused, glancing at her laptop screen. I can pull the evidence logs from the fire. My guy in the fire marshal's office is slow but reliable. Should have them by tomorrow. Meantime, I ran the plates. Vincent Marrow, no record after the rental in 2015. Total ghost. No address, no socials, no trace. Either a fake ID or someone with serious connections to stay off the grid. I nodded, trying to keep my hands from shaking under the table. What about those papers he was asking about? Any idea what they could be? Tara shrugged, flipping her notebook closed. Could be anything. Financial records, legal documents, maybe something your dad was working on. A teacher's not exactly rolling in secrets, but your dad was stressed, you said. Late calls, cagey behavior. Maybe he stumbled onto something he shouldn't have. Those papers could be leverage, evidence, or something worth killing for. Her eyes flicked to the window, checking the street outside the diner. You need to decide your next move fast, Alex. That photo of your apartment means someone's watching you. Could be the same people who sent the voicemail. You go home, you're walking into their net. You go digging, you're stirring up trouble. My head was spinning. So what do I do? Call the cops? They didn't care 10 years ago. Why would they now? Tyra's mouth tightened. Cops can be bought. You've got the plate number and a name. That's something, but you need more than that to reopen a case this old. I'd start with your dad's contacts from back then. Friends, colleagues, anyone who might know what he was into. You mentioned a Mr. Grayson, a cousin Lena, and that neighbor, Tate. I can run background on them. Grayson's still local, teaching at a community college. Lena's off the radar, moved out of state. Tate's still in the neighborhood, but he's a drunk now, unreliable. I'd start with Grayson. I scribbled the names in my head, not on paper. Grayson, Lena, Tate, and the freight yard. That voice in the warehouse wasn't a hallucination. I'd heard it clear as day. My gut told me to stay away from my apartment, but I couldn't run forever. I gave Tyra my dad's old work number, the one he used for those late-night calls. Can you trace that? Already tried, she said, setting her coffee down. Burner phone disconnected years ago, dead end, but I'll keep digging on Marrow. My guess, he's either long gone or someone with enough pull to erase his tracks. You've got another lead, though. She slid a small, sealed envelope across the table. Found this in a storage locker your family rented. Was tucked away under your mom's name, paid in cash for years. Nobody knew about it until the lease lapsed last month. They sent the contents to an old address, but I intercepted it. I stared at the envelope, my throat dry. What's in it? Open it, Tyra said, her tone flat. I tore it open, heart pounding. Inside was a single USB drive, no label, no note. I looked at Tyra, who raised an eyebrow. Could be nothing, could be everything. You got a computer. I nodded, barely breathing. At home. I can't go back there, Tyra. That foe. I know, she cut in. I've got a safe house, a laptop, and a guy who can crack any encryption. You want answers, we plug that in somewhere secure, not your place, not mine, somewhere random. A library, maybe, public but anonymous. I leaned back, the diner's fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The USB felt like a live wire in my hand, small, black, heavier than it should be. My family's secrets, maybe the key to the fire, were on it, and someone didn't want me to have it. The freight yard proved that. I thought of the voice again, asterisk, you shouldn't be here, kid. My skin crawled. You got a place we can go now, Tyra nodded. Library's good. Middle of the day, lots of people, no one's watching. I'll drive, you plug it in, see what's on it. But Alex, if it's what we think, you're in deeper than you know. Whoever sent that voicemail, that photo, they're not playing. You need to be ready to run. I swallowed hard. I've been running my whole life, I said, voice quieter than I meant. Let's go. We left the diner, her car parked a block away. The USB burned in my pocket, a ticking bomb of truth or lies. The library was 10 minutes out, and every step felt like walking toward a cliff.